Brett McGurk. He is the Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Iraq and Iran. And I want to talk to you about the oil money, but first, because I know that you have just spoken with the Prime Minister of Iraq, Prime Minister Abadi, I want to get some clarification from you. He had told reporters that Iraq's intelligence agency had uncovered an imminent ISIS plot against U.S. subways. What did he say to you?
Thanks, Brianna. I just saw Prime Minister Abadi just about half an hour ago. We finished a long meeting between him and Vice President Biden, and I spoke with the Prime Minister also before that. He confirmed to me, and we're in obviously a very close consultation with the Iraqi government, there is no specific credible threat whatsoever that they have uncovered to the United States. He was discussing in general terms the threat, particularly of foreign fighters and ISIS fighters, and there is routinely information uncovered, either from fighters who are captured or from the effects on those who are killed, of the aspirations of these foreign fighters to attack outside of their borders, including the West and including here in the United States. That is something we know very clearly. We work with the Iraqis very closely. We have a close partnership with them through appropriate channels to assess all appropriate information, and any information that they pass to us, we assess the veracity of. But he was very clear in the meeting with me and with the Vice President that the veracity of any such information has not been assessed. There is no specific credible threat to the United States. And so I just wanted to make that very clear.
If the veracity has not been assessed, why did he say something? That seems really out of line.
Well, again, he was addressing a question, as I understand it, about the overall threat from foreign fighters, that this is a global threat, a threat to the entire world. And he's speaking here in New York as the entire world has come together. Over 100 nations yesterday signed on to a UN Security Council Chapter 7 resolution to stop the flood of foreign fighters around the world, and particularly into Syria and into Iraq. So he's addressing that threat, which is a threat to the entire world, it's a threat to Europe, it's a threat to the United States. And it is very clear, and the spokesman for ISIS just about 72 hours ago released a statement in which he very clearly called for attacks on Americans, attacks on French citizens. That is the aspirational goal of these terrorist groups, and that is why they have to be confronted and stopped.
All right, I want to talk to you about this oil money, which is giving ISIS one of its huge advantages. We understand that ISIS has about $1 billion in the bank. That's the expectation. Destroying these refineries, these oil refineries, does this really cut off the financial support to ISIS, or is it just a drop in the bucket?
Well, Brianna, this is part of a long-term strategy along 5 main lines of effort, as the President has laid out. One is military support to our partners. One is countering the foreign fighters into these theaters, and that was about the Security Council yesterday. The third is counter-finance. We have to get at and choke off the financial streams of ISIL, because ISIL, unlike other terrorist groups around the world, is a terrorist group that is acting as a quasi-state. It is trying to establish a caliphate and a state, and to do that, it needs financial resources. The targets that were hit last night are module oil refineries, of which we assess are able to generate almost $1 to $2 million a day, and those strikes were quite effective. But again, this is only the start of a very long-term campaign to entirely choke off any of the financial resources to sustain this organization.
What about the money that ISIS already has? When it went through Mosul, the understanding is that it took about, I think, a third of $1 billion from the bank there. How do you really attack those assets?
Well, there are mixed reports on what actually happened with that bank in Mosul. But at the end of the day, this is a very wealthy terrorist organization. The world has never quite seen anything like it. And again, that is why the entire world, really, this week, in a truly extraordinary multilateral diplomacy here this week before the Security Council, the entire world came together to say we're going to stand with and we're going to stand together and take a stand against ISIS. But it's going to be a long haul. We have to stop the flow of foreign fighters into the theater. The foreign fighters are the lifeblood, the oxygen, which gives ISIL its most lethal effects, because they're mostly the suicide bombers and they're the most hardened fighters. And the finances of this organization is quite extraordinary, and that is why we're going to go after it through all measures and be totally relentless. In capitals across Europe and North Africa, in the region, in the Gulf, to make sure that donations stop and to make sure that their self-generated financing through oil production and through oil sales stop. And the attacks last night were a part of that. And the UN Security Council here in New York also passed a Chapter 7 resolution about 3 weeks ago, a resolution 2170, which calls for the entire world to stop and to get at the financing of ISIL and other associated al-Qaeda-like groups.
Brett, I want to talk to you about Iran's role in all of this. We heard from President Rouhani, and he spoke there at the UN. He has basically said that there cannot be security cooperation on Syria, on ISIS, unless sanctions are dropped, sanctions that pertain to Iran's alleged nuclear program. So where does that leave the U.S. and Iran and Iran's role in all of this?
Well, we've been very clear. Secretary Kerry said last week that there's a role for every country around the world. He said before the Security Council last Friday with the Iranian foreign minister there, or the Iranian minister there, that there is a role for Iran to play, an important role for Iran to play. However, we are going to act in our interests, and we're going to act in the interests of our partners. And that means we will take action when it is in our interest and in the interests of our partners.
Is it a non-starter, though, the coupling of sanctions on Iran due to its alleged nuclear program and then having Iran taking a role in somehow combating ISIS? Is that a non-starter to couple those?
Well, it's not worth mixing the issues because really a precondition for Iran opening up to the world is that they have to convince the world of the peaceful nature of its nuclear program. And that is why, again, here in New York, we have been engaged in very intense diplomacy with the Iranians and with our P5+1 partners on the nuclear issue. And so that is an ongoing negotiation. It's a very difficult negotiation, and that'll go on over the coming days and weeks. But again, for Iran to really rejoin the community of nations and be a constructive partner, they have to convince the global community of the peaceful nature of its nuclear program. And that is not just an issue the United States has with Iran. It's an issue, again, the world has with Iran. And that is why Russia, China, the P5+1 are with us in these negotiations and are also actively enforcing the sanctions against Iran, which are directly linked, again, to their nuclear program. If Iran wants to get out of sanctions, they have to address the nuclear program. The sanctions are related to that program.
Brett, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Brett McGurk, Deputy Assistant Undersecretary for Iraq and Iran.